this is a really, really important clip and point that people need to be aware of. There's two forms of jihad that Islamists are pushing. One that we're familiar with, terrorism, violence, war against non-Muslim actors, particularly Israel, America, Europe. But there's another type of jihad that people aren't familiar with. And no, it's not the one that the British police say is what Islamists mean by jihad, of the internal struggle, and that's what's going on when they say jihad on the streets. No, it's something called civilizational jihad, which Brigitte Gabriel, who is a Lebanese woman now living in America that campaigns against Islamist extremism, she explains what the second type is, and in many ways it's more sinister and more dangerous to the West. It's called civilizational jihad. Have a watch.
It looks to me like there are two forms of jihadi penetration of the West. And tell me if you agree with this. The first form is the more familiar form. It's represented by things like 9/11 or October 7th. It is the outright attack. And of course, we associate these kinds of things with Hamas or with ISIS or Boko Haram, those kinds of groups. But there is a sort of second type of jihad that people are perhaps less aware of, and this is more connected with the Muslim Brotherhood. And this is the notion of infiltrating these societies and traveling on the passport of liberalism itself. I just heard on social media this guy Mehdi Hassan, who said something like this. He goes, well, if the Christians have a right to ring the church bell, therefore the Muslims have the exact same right to have a public prayer and a call to prayer 5 times a day. And now, I'm assuming Mehdi Hassan is not going to sign up to be a suicide bomber. He's practicing the sort of infiltration type of jihad. Do you agree with this sort of classification of these two types of jihad? And do you also agree that maybe they need a different type of response?
That's exactly what's happening, Dinesh. There are two types of jihad, the civilization jihad and the military jihad. And the Muslim Brotherhood plan, which you've heard me talk about, you've talked about as well, the Muslim Brotherhood Project for North America, which was written in 1991 and actually presented as evidence in the largest terrorism financing trial in America's history by our government against the Holy Land Foundation, where our government handed down 108 guilty verdicts to Muslim American and Muslim American organizations raising money in the United States and sending it overseas to support Islamic terrorism. And they were doing it using civilization jihad. And in their plan, there's a paragraph where it says, understanding the role of the Muslim Brother in North America. And that paragraph states very clearly the role of the Muslim Brother in America as a civilization jihad. That means the Ikhwan has a duty to infiltrate and dominate in the West, using our open-mindedness, our technology, and whatever available to them to basically destroy what they call our miserable house from within, using us as the Americans, and also using the Ikhwan. And we are seeing this play out. And what I tell people is there are terrorists dressed, they are Islamic radicals dressed in Armani suit. They are jihadists, just like the ones who blow themselves up. You've got the Mamdani type. They are still inside their mind. They are the Muslim Brotherhood. They are operating to advance an agenda. Yet they are using the West as the useful idiots who are so, smitten with the fancy clothing and the great personality and the great smile and the culture and the travel, etc., etc. Well, meanwhile, voting for these guys and getting them into office. And that's exactly why we saw 42 Muslim elected officials got elected last week in the election in no less than 9 states, and they were elected to advance an agenda. And that's the danger.
So Bridget's absolutely right. It's the infiltration through the back door of Islamists that's happening at the same time through our education system, through elites falling for anti-Western propaganda. And that in many ways is more dangerous because once people in the West feel demoralized about Western values, once they feel that America and the West are wrong in their treatment of Islamic countries, and really we should just, we had it coming. And they begin to believe that in the name of stopping Islamophobia, they can't criticize these things. And it's a very clever tactic, by the way, to create the term Islamophobia, because you're saying by criticizing Islam or an idea or text within Islam, you are therefore persecuting all Muslims. It's a real conflation there, but it's clever. And so it's this combined approach. And that's why we have to deal with both. And we can't just say, well, no, let's just fight the military battles and heighten our security and domestic security. You have to deal with both. In some ways, as I say, it's more sinister, the civilizational one, because once people in the West don't believe that they even have the right to be fighting this, and once their sense of right and wrong is completely perverted by an institutional takeover, then it's all over. And that's why I do what I do on JTV, because we're about educating people, ideas. So many of the problems that we see today, it's actually because of people's ideological beliefs, what they believe to be right and wrong, true and false. And so therefore, we must tackle both. And one player that we do not speak about enough, just goes almost unnoticed, and yet is playing a major role in this, is the state of Qatar. While fooling the West and pretending to be, its ally, it's actually funding the West's enemies and fueling this infiltration in the West. This is the great unspoken issue we need to address. Have a watch of the trailer for our new JTV Plus documentary called Qatar, the Great Deceiver. And if you want to watch the full thing, you can just click the link below in the video description. This is an important one. Qatar, a gleaming nation on the Arabian Peninsula. All glass towers and gold-plated excess, where the super-rich jet in for the art fairs and World Cups, where Western universities open campuses and diplomats toast to partnership. But look closer at the glittering mirage, and the shimmer reveals something sinister. For 2 decades, this tiny state has been executing the greatest con in modern geopolitics, convincing the world it's a bridge between civilizations, while secretly bankrolling the arsonists on both sides. The name Qatar should make Western leaders shudder. Instead, they shake hands with its emirs, park fighter jets on its soil, and call it an ally. On October 7, 2023, the mask slipped, as 1,200 souls were slaughtered in Israel in a symphony of savagery orchestrated by Hamas. The world saw where the terrorist leaders live, not in tunnels beneath Gaza, but in luxury villas in Doha, under Qatar's protection. And as the bodies were being counted, Qatar's leaders didn't condemn the massacre, they called for restraint. This is the untold story of the Gulf's master deceiver, how a nation smaller than Connecticut is playing the West for fools. As you are watching this, billions are flowing from Doha into extremist networks, while Western elites cash Qatari checks and sing its praises. In this JTV Plus documentary, we follow the money, we expose the double game, and we ask the question that should haunt every Western capital. How are we letting them get away with it? To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.